Hi there, welcome to today's painting tutorial. In this episode, we're going to paint a foggy forest with acrylic paints. So let's get started. And I have the piece kind of marked off with masking tape. And you want to kind of go around the edge where the paper is and press that tape down so that you get a nice seal with the tape. And if you want to paint along with me, you can find this sketch in the description below. And then I'm going to spray down the canvas. I have a fine mist sprayer. Just going to give it a couple sprays. And then I'm going to grab my brush here. This is a larger wash brush. And I'm going to get quite a bit of water on the brush and then add some of this teal color. So this is going to be the color that we use to tone the canvas and to act kind of as an underpainting. So we should be able to get a nice kind of transparent layer so that sketch will show through underneath. The more water that you use, the more it's going to be see-through and transparent. And then when you're doing an underpainting like this, using a larger brush is going to help you to cover more space quickly. I'm going to try to get close to the edges. And this is just an initial layer that's going to be covered up. So you really don't have to be precise with this or exact. It doesn't have to be even. Okay, so I think that looks good. And then go ahead and let this layer dry completely. And then we will start adding more layers on top. So now I have some colors on my palette. I have a black, a mid-tone gray, and then a phthalo green. And then I'm going to use this size 0 brush. And what we want to do is paint in some of these trees in the background. So I'm going to get my brush wet. And then let's mix up a dark color. So I want to take a little bit of the black and then mix some of that phthalo green in there. I don't want to make the trees completely black, so I'm adding some of this phthalo green. And let's try to put that in. So determine which trees you want to be in the background. So I'm going to do this one here. And then to paint in the trees, you're just using the tip of the brush and you're kind of stippling and just try to make some of these random shapes of branches. I'm going to come all the way down towards the bottom here. And then we can do this tree, making some of the branches go upwards and some of them go down. And these you don't have to be too precise with because they're going to be covered up by the fog and they're going to be in the background. So then I think I want these two trees to be in the foreground. So we'll paint this one in to be a background tree. These are just really spooky, kind of sparse trees. So they just have a few branches. And then let's see which other ones I want to be. So I can put this one in the background. Okay, and then just try to make your branches look very random and organic. You don't want to have trees that have equal amounts of branches on each side so that it doesn't look unnatural. Okay, and now I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. So I have a small size 0 that's just a little bit more refined. And then I'm going to use that brush to put in some more branches and just to add a little bit more detail. This is going to give me some thinner lines so that I have a nice variation. My paint is skipping a little bit, so I'm trying to make sure that I have enough paint on my brush. I can add a little bit of water. Sometimes when the paint dries really fast, you lose some of that ability to get clean lines. So I just want some really thin branches. Trying to make some of them go in different directions and different lengths. Trying to get on the very tip of that brush to give you some thinner lines. And that's another thing that just kind of takes practice. You need the right amount of paint on the end of that brush. So we'll add more water. Let's see if that can help. Okay, so this is something that you could really just take your time with and be as detailed as you want it to be. So go ahead and take your time. You can pause the video, take as much time as you need to add all of these tiny little branches. So now I'm going to take an acrylic marker and I want to go over these trees that are going to be in the foreground, because I don't want to lose those once I start putting in a background and putting in some of that mist. I'm just going to go over this sketch, the teal acrylic marker, and you could use a colored pencil or a pen, whatever you have. Okay, and now let's try to put in some of the background and the fog. So I'm going to take a size 11 flat brush. So I have some zinc white, and I'm using zinc white instead of titanium white because it's more transparent, and that's going to help me make the fog effect. And then I have a retarder medium here and then a mid-tone gray. So I'm going to mix that mid-tone gray into the retarding medium, and that slows down the drying time of the paint. So I like to use that when I do backgrounds because it just makes the paint flow really easily and spread a lot easier. Then I'm going to mix some of this zinc white in there. And then let's put that around the background. So I'm starting out pretty loose, and I want it to be kind of darker around the edges. So you can add sort of a dark layer there to begin with. And you can see that that teal marker is still going to show through, which is nice. Okay, and then as I move towards the center, I can mix a little bit more of that zinc white into there to start getting a lighter effect. Okay, you can see how that zinc white is nice and transparent. Okay, just putting this on. And we want it to be quite a bit lighter in the center here. So you can add some white paint, just the pure zinc white into the center, and kind of blend it out. And then along the bottom, you could probably make it a little bit darker with some of that dark gray. Okay, I'm grabbing some water and I'm kind of trying to thin that paint out a little bit. And blend it nicely. Okay, so then let's let this layer dry before we add another layer on top. Now let's work on adding a second layer, and I'm going to switch to this little mop brush that I have. And let's take some of the gray. So I want to try to do kind of some circular motions with this brush and see if I can get kind of some blended effects, kind of going around the edges. And you can see a lot of that nice teal paint showing through. So this is kind of scumbling or working with a dry brush technique. We can do that along the bottom. Just working in layers is important here. Okay, go around the edge. Okay, and now I'm going to switch to some of that zinc white. Get some of that on the brush. Then I'm doing that circular motion, trying to give the appearance of fog, kind of like a cloud type of look. You can just experiment with how much paint you're putting on the brush. And in the center, we want it to be pretty bright. So add a little bit more white in the middle. Okay, we can go over the trees. So then we're making kind of layers of fog as well. And then don't forget to step back and get an overall picture of what you're doing. So when I step back, I see that I need a little bit more attention at the bottom. So I'm going to add another layer of this dark gray. And then we could add some more zinc white into that and kind of blend it upwards to look like fog is coming off of the forest floor. Okay, and then you could let that dry and move to the next step. So now let's take that size 0 round brush, the larger one that we had, and we want to add a layer to the trees that we want to be in the foreground. So I'm going to take some black and mix it with some of the gray. And then let's see if we can put those in. So you should have kind of an outline there that you did with the acrylic marker. And let's just put kind of a loose initial layer. These trees are going to come forward, so we're going to add a little more detail to them. We'll get the basic shape. Okay, we'll take this all the way down to the bottom. And then we have this tree over here. Okay, so we have those trees coming forward, and let's put another one maybe over here. I don't want to cover up some of the detail. Maybe we can put it right there. So I'm trying to put an odd number of trees in the foreground, just because when you have even objects, even subjects of things, the eye kind of doesn't know where to look, so it's better to have odd numbers. Okay, so now let's switch to that smaller brush. I'm going to take the size 0. And we're sticking with this dark color of black mixed with the gray. Trying to get a really fine tip there. And then I'm just going to put in a lot of tiny branches, kind of going out in different directions. Okay, so you can pause the video here and go ahead and add a lot of tiny random branches to your trees. And then we'll move to the next step. And I'm actually going to vary the branches here. So let's take some of this phthalo green, add a little bit of the black. And then I want to do kind of a different type of tree. Maybe one that is not, so these trees kind of look like they're dead. So this one could have some greenery on it. More like an evergreen tree. And the pattern on those branches are just a little bit different. Kind of add a little bit of texture. It's just going to give some interest and variety to the piece. Just doing little dots, kind of connecting into a branch. I'm going to do that to this tree over here. Kind of letting the green and the black mix on the page and on the brush. Then we can add some color to this one too. Okay, so with your piece, go ahead and take your time and really get into the details here. Add as many branches as you would like. I think this piece having more detail, the better. And now let's add some highlights. So I'm going to take this mid-tone gray and then see if I can add it on top of these branches to add a highlight. Should be a lighter value, and just kind of popping it in where the light is hitting. Okay, and if you wanted to make that a little bit lighter, you can take some of that zinc white, a little bit of the gray to mix up a lighter shadow, and then you might just want to put, a lighter highlight, and you might want to put that more sparingly, just in a few areas along the trunk of the trees. Okay, and I think we will call this complete. Let's take off the tape here. Okay, so I really like how that teal is showing through. We have the layers working together. This is a really fun exercise that you can do to practice some of those techniques. Okay, and that is complete. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more acrylic painting tutorials, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.